Hello, welcome back once again to Retro Anime Realm. And on the back of the last video, I said I wasn't going to take a break in the end. Unfortunately, I had a little bit of a cold and I've still got it at the moment. That's why I haven't made a video for like the last, I don't know, week and a half or so. It's not the ideal to make videos when my voice has been affected a little bit, so there you go. But today we shall finally be covering the next section of Gundam Double Zeta, covering episodes 32 to 39. Now, these episodes are very interesting. A great deal of stuff happened in these episodes. First of all, let me talk about the Palu clones that appeared. Now, we'd kind of seen this before, I think, in the last bunch of episodes, but Lemmy has now basically got, like, it seems like this army of Palu clones ready to go. He's kind of been able to clone Palu into lots of other different ones, and we get one appearing in Palu 2, who appears like in this bunch of episodes, and she's piloting the Psycho Gundam Mark II, and it's interesting to see that return, that's for sure. So with this, we kind of know that Lemmy kind of has more of a plan going on now. He has like a major trump card, which is going to be interesting to see what he does with these. And also we get to see the return of Far and Camille, and obviously these are characters that we've been waiting to see return for a very long time now. So it's really good to see them back. Far, of course, is involved with helping Bright and Judo out of that predicament they get themselves in when they end up locked in the bottom of that basement, and Far is able to somehow get them out. Far, it appears, is now working as a nurse, basically, while at the same time looking after Camille. And Camille seems to have recovered quite a bit since we last saw him. He seems to have been as badly affected as he was before, whereas basically just, you know, lying on a bed, basically not very conscious whatsoever. Now he's up and walking about and all that kind of stuff, which is great to see. He's still not speaking, but as we see during these episodes, he actually helps out the Gundam team quite a lot in their battles. He's able to communicate with them with his new type powers, and we get to like hear his voice a little with that, but unfortunately he's still not speaking properly yet. But it is really nice to see Camille back, that's for sure. Over the course of these episodes, we get the Federation basically acting as clueless as they were before, as they always have been. And the Federation have basically, by this point, this colony drop is happening with Amon Khan. She decided to drop a colony onto Dublin. And this is basically on the back of what happens in the last bunch of episodes with what happens back at Dakar, where Amon Khan basically had the Federation eating out of her hands. And the Federation have now basically decided, with Amon about to drop this colony on Dublin, that they just don't care anymore. The reason they don't care is because they feel that even with this colony drop happening, at least it will wipe out a lot of the population of the Earth. There won't be as many mouths to feed. By this point, the Earth has become quite badly affected by pollution and all that kind of stuff. So they're willing to sacrifice all these people for that. They don't even care colony drops happening. They don't even try and stop it. And the Federation seem perfectly willing to hand, you know, side free over to Amon Khan. They seem totally willing to hand back Zeon's former territory back to them again. They just seem to think that will end all the conflicts and that will be the end of it, which is very naive of them and stupid of them, but that's always the way that they're fought. And even to the point that they try and kind of decommission the Argama, which is funny because it's not even theirs in the first place. It belongs to the AUG, and so they want to kind of decommission the Argama so, you know, it stops the conflict, and so that Amon Khan can have, you know, all the former Zeon colonies handed back to them and all that kind of stuff, and they think everything will be totally fine, which is just totally stupid. Which is what we've come to expect of the Federation, really. Yeah, so we have all this great bunch of episodes take place in Dublin with a colony drop. These episodes are really cool. I think this is probably the finest, one of the finest parts of the series so far. It was really cool seeing all of that play out. We get to see Judo in his battle against Rakan Dakaran, and he appears very ruthless in these episodes. We met him in the last number of episodes, and he even fires upon a ship with like people trying to escape, which is like pretty dark indeed, and shows how ruthless he is as a character. We unfortunately, in these episodes, see the death of Hayato, a character who's been with us since the very start of Mobile Suit Gundam, which is a real shame. I feel especially sorry for his wife and kids. You know, it's revealed in these episodes that they don't even know about Katz's death, and they're going to be hit with both barrels, it appears, when they find out the news, which is a real shame. With this colony drop also, we find out it was actually Mashima who's the one who kind of organised all this, which is kind of a bit weird, because when we last saw Mashima, and at the beginning of the series, Mashima, in my opinion, was kind of very goofy. I think we all know that, but was also seemed like a very gallant person. Like he didn't seem to want to harm civilians or that kind of thing, so it's kind of surprising that he was the one who kind of arranged this colony drop and all that. I guess like the difference is now, compared to the beginning of the series, where the pieces are kind of just being put into place, like the conflict hadn't really begun yet. It was still kind of the aftermath of the Grips conflict. Now, like, a war is very much underway, and I think that's like the difference here, and maybe what caused him to go ahead in organising this colony drop. As before, I mentioned the Pelou clones. We unfortunately get to see the untimely death of Elpio Pelou in these episodes, and I didn't expect her death to come this soon. I did state I'd seen this series before, but I thought she actually died further on in the series. I didn't think she went this early, but I can kind of see why they decided to kill her off now. I don't think her character had too much else to go, to be honest, because it's revealed as well in these episodes that Lena is in fact alive, which I'll get into in a moment. Lena is in fact alive, and she survived thanks to being kind of rescued, I guess, by Sailor Mass, which is very interesting. I'll get into in a moment. So I think that now Lena's back, I can kind of see that Elpio Pelou's character may have served her purpose. Now, unfortunately, it's kind of being like the replacement kind of Lena character for Judo to kind of interact with for that amount of time. So I think it's kind of a shame that she went. That's very sad indeed, considering that she's just a kid, really. And I think she had like a, if this conflict had ended, she had a good life to look forward to. So after all this, we see all the characters go back to space once more. The Argamo is actually decommissioned. Well, it isn't decommissioned, it's handed over to Kariba. And so everyone heads back to space in like a shuttle, and he ends up getting a new ship called the Nehalagama. And I mentioned earlier how the Federation has kind of became very annoying with what they were doing, and so it appears like this kind of annoying attitude is spreads to the AUG also. When it comes to the Nehalagama, the people of the AUG actually decide that they don't want the Gundam team and the kids that have been on the Argama to take part in this conflict anymore. They have decided, now that by this point they reveal that they've rebuilt their force enough after the Grips War, that they want their trained soldiers to take over instead. Even though it's a Gundam team that has basically helped the AUG survive this far. Like the AUG was like the Argama was the only ship they had of the AUG, and that's what's led them to survive up to this point, and all of a sudden they want to get rid of them. I think a large reason why this happened is probably, as you know, Wong Lee doesn't really like the Gundam team at all, and never really has. He was able to come to terms with Camille in Zeta Gundam, but I don't think he ever has been able to when it comes to Judo and the rest of the Gundam team. I think also the crew of the Argama in Zeta Gundam was very much more militaristic. What we see in Gundam Double Zeta, I think Bright realised that the situation the AUG was in at the beginning of Gundam Double Zeta, they needed more crew, and they needed them fast, which led to him to employ the Gundam team in the first place, and you know the kids from Shangri-La. And by this point, they've kind of became good soldiers, if it were, good troops for the AUG and the Argama. They really have. And so I think Bright, helps them steal the Nehalagama at this point. He actually tells him, look, get out of here, like steal the ship. And I think it shows like the difference with Bright. I think in Zeta Gundam, with things how much more militaristic life was on Iagama, compared to in Gundam Zeta, where Bright ran a much more relaxed ship. I think he realised what he had to do with the Gundam team. And so at this point, he encourages them to just take the Nahalagama, which is very interesting indeed. And so they just go off with it. And what's interesting is he gives them the warning, doesn't he, that look, you have to get rid of Zeon now. You have to finish them off. Otherwise, the AUG and the Federation are going to hunt you down. And that's something rather dark and, well, strong food for thought for the Gundam team, that's for sure, who are now piloting and taking care of the Nahalagama by themselves and are left to deal with this situation. So it's going to be interesting to see how all that pans out. It's kind of weird that Bright in the end didn't decide to go with them. I kind of wonder why that was, but oh well, I think that's kind of strange. But I think it adds to kind of like a new element to the story, like the kids having to like manage this ship alone. So as well as that, I mentioned that Lena is now revealed to be alive and well. We see that now the characters came back to space, Judo actually begins to sense Lena again. Now I think he can see the Earth. I imagine he's able to sense her now. And he begins talking about Lena to the rest of the crew, and I think they get really kind of worried about his sanity, that he thinks Lena's alive and well. During like a battle with Mashima and his crew, like a battle that Judo and Beecher have with some of the others, makes Beecher realise, I think, that Lena's also alive also. Maybe he doesn't quite believe this 100%, I don't know. But it's interesting that now that Judo and perhaps Beecher and the others now realise that Lena may in fact be alive. So I mentioned Mashima showing up again. They're helped at this point by a group of mobile armor pilots who don't really seem to last long at all. We also meet another like pilot called Ilya Pazom, who's working alongside Mashima at this point, and they at this point have a kind of like a troop of Zeon soldiers come to join them. And they don't like the leader, and this leader is actually at one point very close to destroying the Nahalagama, but Ilya Pazom actually destroys his suit. And the reason for them doing this is because her and Mashima don't like this guy, and basically they decide to find a way to take him out so that all his subordinates now obey Mashima instead, which I thought was quite interesting idea for the story. I thought that was quite cool. We have like a bunch of kind of refugees from Zeon actually kind of join on board the Nahalagama at this point, as well as the people from Moon, interestingly. And it's interesting to see them back. I know they're probably not everyone's favourite characters. I mean, that's for sure. Moon, as I said when we discussed it, is one of the, most people believe is one of the worst points of the entire Gundam franchise. But I feel like these characters coming back actually did some good at this point. We have Haman actually smuggle away onto the Nahalagama, and so Rasa and Sarasa, I think that's their names, actually interact with Haman Khan. They actually can feel like the dark presence within her. But it's interesting what they say. I can't remember which one it was again, but they say that like the evil inside of her is actually, it seems to be rather fake. That she actually, her opinions and the way she is actually, they say, is actually more in line with Judo's opinions, and they actually try and convert her over to the light side, as they say, which is interesting. I've always kind of had this idea that Haman Khan hasn't actually been as evil a person as it has been depicted so far in Gundam. I'll get into that at the end of the series, but I think that's kind of interesting that they're kind of like they're kind of exploring that a little bit more now, which is cool. The last bit I'm going to talk about here is I was kind of pleased to see Mondo actually do something heroic here. He, makes a brave decision, doesn't he? When basically the Nahalagama is basically being basically under siege, isn't it, from Zeon, and they're holding the ship hostage and they're pointing at the bridge, but obviously they're not going to damage the ship because they know that Haman Khan's on there. Mondo decides to go out there and take them on. after being called out by the other characters for always making kind of like the wrong decision. And he ends up doing very well indeed in the Hakushiki, and it's worthwhile him going out there. As I said, the Xeon mobile suits can't attack the Nail Argama at this point. They can't do anything because the man's on there. And he ends up taking the initiative, even though it was a big risk. So I was kind of pleased to see him do something cool like that. I thought there'd always been something more to come from Mondo, so I think that was nice to see. He's probably the member of the Gundam team who hasn't had as much to do, to be honest, so it's kind of cool to see that. And yeah, I think these episodes are really, really good and really interesting. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. And yeah, soon enough, the next part discussing the next and probably the final section of Gundam 008 will be up here for you shortly. See you soon.